What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got episode 3 in our San Francisco Giants franchise, and I want to start off today's video by recapping a minor trade that we made here after the end of the last video, not any further into the season than where we were. So we ended up trading away, and we ended up flipping left fielder Alex Dickerson to the Royals. The Royals were looking for an outfielder, and they really don't have a whole lot of depth out here. So Alex Dickerson is actually a pretty nice pickup for that team. He fits pretty well there. And then we also packaged in first baseman Justin Bohr. Not a fantastic player for us. He was playing well down in AAA, but just a player that we wanted to get off of our books. And in return for that, we ended up coming up with a couple of pretty nice prospects that we'll be able to use hopefully in the future. And those prospects that we were able to get back in return were relief pitcher, 22 years old, 62 overall, C potential, Andres Sotile. I may be mispronouncing that, but a nice 62 overall young player that I think could develop into a pretty nice bullpen arm. He also has really good stamina, which I liked, and pretty good velocity, so there's the potential there that he could develop into a starting pitcher as well, but I like that versatility on him. And then the other player that we got back in return, which partially addresses a need for us, was first baseman Nick Prato. 62 overall, 23 years old with C potential. The thing that I really like about him is that he is super athletic. He's got really good speed, he's got really good defensive ability, and then on top of that, he has pretty good power on both sides of the ball. So this was a guy that I specifically honed in on, and I was happy that the Royals needed a player that we could give them in order to bring back a couple of these players. But just something to note, I wanted to get this out of the way early in this video because not a huge trade or anything like that, not a blockbuster, no B potentials or anything, but two guys that I think might be able to work their way up the system if given enough time and attention. We're going to start advancing our way through the season a little bit more here. We are in the beginning of June, so once we hit July time frame, which will happen in this video, we're going to start exploring and dealing with some more big time trades, some of these better players that are on our team that other teams could use. Alex Dickerson was a pretty solid one, but I'm hoping to get at least a couple of decent prospects back to continue to bolster our ranks in the farm system here. So let's go ahead and simulate through and see what happens. Something that is super interesting to note is I have gotten a lot of trade offers like this, the ones you've seen on this screen right here, that are from the Dodgers, the Padres, the Rockies, a lot of teams in my own division looking for players on this team, especially guys like Alex Wood who are playing really well right now. I don't know what's going on that I'm getting so many in-division trades, but we're not going to execute on this one. I just wanted to point that out there because it's a little bit weird that that's been happening so much, and those are mainly the teams that I'm getting trade offers from. Now, the White Sox have decided to offer me a trade here in today's video, and I'm really thinking about taking this. I think we are going to accept this trade. They are offering me relief pitcher Jace Fry, who is a 27-year-old with B potential, in return for Wilmer Flores, who is a 29-year-old with C potential at shortstop. We do have Brandon Crawford here, who is a very good defensive shortstop. We really don't gain a whole lot with Wilmer Flores. He's pretty good with the bat, but I honestly don't feel like we lose a whole lot with moving on from him. So I'm going to go ahead and make this deal, especially with considering this will start to free up some space in front of guys like Will Wilson, Marco Luciano, etc., because those guys are going to be really important to get up in the next few years. And moving guys like Flores, that's potentially going to help us out. He's on a one-year deal for $3.1 million. That's going to help our budget situation. Let's go ahead and accept this deal because I like this one. And then you guys will see here that we have simulated a majority of the way through June. We are sitting at 39 and 33. So, still a positive record, not doing all that bad. I'm sure that this record is going to start to turn downward once we trade away some of these good players that we have on our team. But, regardless of being 39 and 33, as predicted, the Padres and Dodgers are starting to really run away with things right now. The Padres are coming into form at 43 and 32, and then the Dodgers have just absolutely run away with it at 52-20. Now things could change, but it's really looking like the season that I predicted, where we're not really going to be that heavy of a competitor, and it's time to start executing some of these bigger trades. So we will be looking out for those as we move forward. Let's go ahead and simulate through the end of the month and see where our record stands after that. We have hit the end of the month, and it's a good time to check some of these notifications on how players have been playing down in the minor leagues. So we see here that a 6.52 ERA for Ryan Halstead. He's looking to bounce back. Hasn't played very well as a relief pitcher, unfortunately. Silvino Bracco struggled as well. Jacob Gonzalez tore it up, posting a 380 average in 79 at-bats, so we might be looking to consider moving him up from Double-A at some point. He's batting really well. 380 is exceptional. Joe McCarthy is batting 328 with 5 RBIs. That's looking pretty good at left field. And then Junior Marte posted a 0 ERA in June, punching out 3 batters in 4 innings of work. So looking pretty good. He didn't have a lot of innings of work, but that's a nice one to see. And then Tyler Beede had a strong month of June, posting a .79 ERA and punching out 40 hitters over 34 innings of play. Now that's an interesting one to look at. So let's go look at Tyler Beede and see where he's at. So AAA pitcher, 26 years old, 71 overall. Might be time to call him up to the major leagues with a performance like that. And coming to the month of July here, we are certainly looking at potentially calling him up, because we are looking to move on from some of these pitchers up at the top. I would expect some trades to come in very soon for some of these guys up at the top of our rotation. Let's see what happens. After quite a bit of deliberation and detailed planning, we were able to find a good trade partner here early in the month of July. So our first big trade is going to be as follows. We're going to be offering starting pitcher Alex Wood over to the Phillies, who are currently sitting at 2 games back of the division lead over there in the NL East. So a team that is potentially looking to add to their rosters for a playoff run, that could potentially be utilizing another good arm in the starting rotation there. I think that'll be a really nice pickup for them if they're trying to make a playoff push. And so in return, we're going to be going ahead and acquiring relief pitcher, 23 years old, 63 overall B potential, Jojo Romero, who looks like a potentially good future arm for us. And then in addition to that, we're going to add second base prospect Kendall Simmons, C potential, 67 overall, 20 years old. So we're not getting a ton in return, but enough, I think, that can kind of maybe help us out in the future. Getting a decent bullpen arm, and then Kendall Simmons, who has the potential to play a couple of different positions, is a good defensive and athletic player. So I like this trade as our first big trade of the season. Jojo Romero here is actually starting in the major league level, so we're going to have to use his second of 3 options to send him down to AAA, and I think that's fine, because he will soon enough become ready to play at this level. But what that's going to do is that's going to force us to make a move in order to change around our roster a little bit. So we are going to follow through with what we talked about earlier in moving Tyler Beede up to the MLB level. He may play out of the bullpen. We'll have to edit our rotation a little bit, and we might be making some more moves that cause him to be ready for us. But we're going to go ahead and add him to the 40-man roster, and then we're going to move him up to the MLB level and see what he can do against big league hitters. We'll take this opportunity to go ahead and advance at least another week or so through in order to, best keep this moving. Again, another interesting trade offer here from the Padres, another division opponent. So we're going to go ahead and decline it, but I just wanted to show you guys again that this is the type of stuff that we've been getting. We're going to go ahead and simulate up to and through the All-Star break here. And I figured you guys might be interested to at least see the players that are going to be a part of the Home Run Derby this year. It's looking like Nelson Cruz, George Springer, Mike Trout, Pete Alonso, Freddie Freeman, Luke Voit, Bryce Harper, and Michael Conforto. And interestingly enough, Bryce Harper actually comes out the winner over Nelson Cruz in the final of this year's Home Run Derby. So pretty interesting result there. Unfortunately, we didn't have anybody competing, but also not a surprise that we didn't have anybody competing. We're not really at that level of talent yet, so let's go ahead and keep moving. As it turns out, Buster Posey did make it to the All-Star game. He was our only attendant at the All-Star game. We will be keeping on to him, I think, long-term, so we'll see how things play out with him, whether he regresses or whatnot, because he is getting up there in age, but it is nice to see that we at least had one representative from this team in the All-Star game this year. Getting closer and closer to the trade deadline, the A's have expressed interest in catcher Curt Casali, who I think is potentially a good pickup for them. They've also expressed some interest in starting pitchers as well as a couple of other positions. So I think we're going to go ahead and try to get a deal done with the Oakland A's and see if we can't add something to our roster for the future that can really help us succeed as we move down the line here. We were not able to get something worked out with the Athletics. However, we did notice that the Orioles are a surprising contender this year. And so in an effort to kind of support their rise and their ability to contend for a division, they're only a couple games back right now of the Yankees. They are at about a wild card type of pace, which is interesting. We're going to be sending them a starting pitcher in Kevin Gausman, who I think is a really good player to add to this rotation, considering they only have 4 guys above a 70. To be honest with you, I don't know how they are in contention right now. It's pretty interesting, but we're going to send them Kevin Gausman, who is our best pitcher at the moment, 30 years old, 81 overall B potential. And then we're also going to add an arm to their bullpen right now in Dominic Leone, a proven product. And in return for that, we're going to go ahead and grab distant closing pitcher prospect Evan Phillips. He's 24 years old, a 53 overall with B potential, so very distant future. Not too much of an impact there for either team, so it doesn't hurt for them to lose him. And then at second base, a position that I've been talking about we want to address, we're going to go ahead and add Jahmai Jones. They have a ton of potential here at second base between Ruiz, Pat Valleca, Terran Vavra, Malkin Canelo, I believe is how you say his name. Not really sure, but they have so many good second basemen here, so we're going to go ahead and add Jahmai Jones, and hopefully that's going to get it done in order to really boost us for the future. We mentioned that we were unable to get a trade done with the A's for catcher Curt Casali. However, we are able to deal him to the Rangers, who are a little bit competitive right now and looking for a catcher on the roster, especially considering what they have here. And so in return, we're going to be taking their dead last closing pitcher prospect in Alice Spies. What's really nice about him, he's got really nice velocity and pretty good break for a 53 overall, so there's some potential there that he could develop in the future. And then we're going to take their very bottom starting pitcher prospect. They have quite a few above him. So we're going to be taking Cole Wynn from their farm system and adding him over to ours. He could potentially be a starting pitcher for us in the future, maybe a relief pitcher or a closing pitcher. He has that potential either way, but a nice add here, I think, by trading away another veteran player. And in addition to that, what that's going to allow us to do is that's going to allow us to move a catcher up on the roster, one of these guys that has potential. And so now we have to move one of these guys up to the major league. We'll be making a decision on that here in a moment, so stay tuned for that. Really, comparing these two guys, I think that there's a pretty good difference. Joey Bart looks like he is potentially MLB ready. Very good defensively, and then a 277 average, so not the best from the batting perspective, we could potentially move him up to the major leagues. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to move Joey Bart up, and then that's going to allow us to move Patrick Bailey up to the AAA level. And actually, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave Patrick Bailey here so that he gets starting reps in AA, and we're going to move Brian Torres up to AAA, just as a guy that can get really good reps behind Chadwick Trump, and then we're going to move Ricardo Genovez up to AA. We are also then going to take Sam Wolf and move him up to AAA, which is going to help balance out our roster. He has a .96 ERA down here in AA, so he should do well and thrive, hopefully, up there in AAA. And as we begin to approach the trade deadline here, we are falling into a slump at 48 and 47. Not much of a surprise, kind of as I predicted. As we started selling off pieces, we would start to see our record go downwards. And we don't have a whole lot of players left to trade in order to get to where we want to go to. I mean, we have various different players that we are considering moving, but we moved a lot of the top guys that were really on the block for us. What's left for us are some pieces here and there that might be able to help another team. So I'll keep you guys updated if we get any other nice offers as we approach the deadline here, but not looking to do a ton more than what we've addressed here so far in today's video. There has been quite a bit of interest here in a couple of our remaining players, so there are some chances here as we approach the deadline that we do get a deal done. We've yet to be offered anything that I'm in love with in terms of players. I do kind of like this idea here of adding Garrett Cooper at first base, though, he's up there in age. He's also out with an injury, and moving Anthony DeSclafani kind of makes us have to shift things around. So I don't know that I'm going to take this trade, but I do want to show you guys where we're at. We're up to July 26th, so trades keep rolling in day by day, and we're getting some interesting offers. Let's see if we can't get any other trades. We're going to get another offer from the Marlins here. They're going to offer us Garrett Cooper again, and this time in return for Evan Longoria. That one's a bit of an odd one. Evan Longoria is a player that, he's been moved around a couple of times, I think, throughout the league. A guy that I'm potentially looking to trade, and maybe that's one I should really look hard to trade here because of his cap hit number, but not so far getting the offers that I want for some of these guys. Here we go, guys. I think we're finally at the trade deadline, and we're going to execute what I think is going to be our final trade unless we get some other offers that we like. The Reds are in a position to potentially win their division, and so they're looking to add at the trade deadline here, and I figure why not see if we can't package a couple guys that can help them out. They're looking for veteran infield presence, somebody that can help them on both sides as a hitter and a defender, and so that would be a perfect fit here for Evan Longoria that can help them out in multiple ways, and he'll fit right in the infield. He can play around at a couple of positions, both third base and first base, so I think that that's a nice pickup for them. But even more importantly than that, for a team that is super competitive, their rotation is pretty weak, with their pitching dropping off after their third pitcher down to a 69 overall. Adding a guy like Anthony DeSclafani, who has played pretty well for us so far this season, I think is going to be a big pickup for them. And in return for that, what I've been looking for is potentially a corner outfielder with a big arm. Not necessarily saying that this is a guy that's going to take over for us or turn into anybody that's like crazy good, but I think this is a perfect fit for us because Aristides Aquino, tell me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, tell me how to pronounce that in the comment section, is a guy that has a huge arm, 95 arm strength, got good power on both sides, pretty good contact. I think that this is a guy that I really want to add to the team, so we're going to go ahead and execute this trade. A guy that, doesn't leave them empty at the position. They already have Nicholas Castellanos there, as well as Austin Hendrick, a potential right fielder sitting behind him, so that frees up some space for him to move up in the farm system. I really like that addition for us. Let's go ahead and sim through the trade deadline and see if we don't get any more offers. Today's the trade deadline. Would I like to stop simulating? Yes. We're going to get an offer from the Blue Jays, see if it's anything interesting. They offer us Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for Donovan Solano. I'm not sure where they're going with this trade. I would absolutely like to add Gurriel Jr. to the outfield, and I might honestly go try to make a deal like this, but I can't see this as realistic. That's way too much of a return for a guy like Solano. I think we're just going to have to deal with what we've done. We've done enough trades. We've done a flurry of trades, and I don't want to get too crazy with it. We haven't added any massive blockbuster players to the team. It's really about shipping those guys out, fixing our budget, and allowing a lot of these prospects that we have to come up and develop as starters for us. So really happy about what we got done there prior to the trade deadline, and I hope you guys are interested in it as well. I'm going to go ahead and fix up the roster, and we'll be back with you here in a couple minutes. The first thing and the most interesting thing that we're going to do here in today's video is, after the trade deadline in today's video, is we're going to actually move Jojo Romero to starting pitcher, and we're going to bring him up to the major league level and try to fill that gap of, trading away DeSclafani. I think that one's going to be real interesting for us. I'm not expecting him to turn into some type of crazy starting pitcher for us, but Sean Hiel, who's the guy I would probably want to call up, didn't perform all that well. He's on the IR, so not much point in bringing him up. Connor Menez, not doing that great. We could maybe bring up Seth Corey, but I think it's too early for him. So I really like the idea of switching Jojo Romero over with that stamina that he has to starting pitcher and giving him a shot in the major leagues. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. And I'm going to be honest, guys, when Jojo Romero went over to the starting pitcher position, he went up to 69 overall. So he's right there at near MLB ready type of player for an organization like this. So I like this move. I think that this is going to work out well for us. We'll see how he progresses as the season goes on. But we have a couple more things to do with the roster here to make sure we are managed properly, because you can see we have some injured players and whatnot that are causing us to be short on players. So we'll go ahead and make some more moves around the roster. We're going to go ahead and use a minor league option to send Austin Slater down to AAA, a player that could maybe use a little bit of time down there, not batting all too well in the MLB at around 240, and that's going to give Aquino an opportunity to see what he can do here at the major league level. The next thing that we got to do here is we have to call up a third baseman to the major league level. Now, we don't really have anybody between third base, shortstop, second base, first base that I really think is MLB ready in terms of the way they're hitting or anything of that nature. I would have potentially called up Logan Wyatt, to be honest with you guys, at 23 years old, because he was raking down there in AA, and that, maybe jump him to the MLB level. Maybe I should have thought about that sooner, but being on the injured list can't do anything with that now. So we're just going to have to go with Thairo Estrada, 69 overall B potential, move him up to the major league. It says he's on a hot streak right now. He's only batting .235, but let's go ahead, give him a chance in the major leagues and see what he can do there. And then we're going to have to take a guy from down here in AA and move him up to AAA. I think it could be a good opportunity for Casey Schmidt, who is batting really well, for him to go up to AAA. He's one that I thought maybe could have been the guy to come up to the major leagues, but I'm just a little hesitant with how young he is, so let's go ahead and move him up to AAA and give him some opportunities there. And then maybe that'll give Toribio some chances to improve his bat as well. We do want to take a look here real quick at the injured list. We have 4 guys right now that are on the 60-day injured list, so that creates some problems for us, and that's why you guys will see on our roster screen that we have so little players between MLB, AAA, and AA. So we are probably going to call some single-A guys up to those levels just to fill some gaps right now and try to fix some of what's going on there. And I think that's going to be a good place to end today's video. Not much gameplay here today, but in the next video we're going to go ahead and jump into some gameplay with some of these guys that now have opportunities in the major leagues, especially guys like Beatty and Jojo Romero. Those are guys I'm going to be interested to see what they can do. Maybe get a couple of at-bats with Estrada to see what's up with him. After we've cleared out some of those players, I think it's going to be a good opportunity for us now to see what we have with some of these guys and really start progressing towards the future, and we can finally get to see what this franchise is going to be all about, and you guys will get to see more gameplay here in the next video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. We're sitting at 53 and 51, so we're 20 games back of the Dodgers, who are just running away with it. But what I will say, there's still some opportunity there for us to maybe compete for a wild card or something of that nature if this team plays well with the moves that we've made. I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen, but I do think in future years we are going to be on the come up, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit that bell notification button, and comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I hope you guys have a great night.